Welcome back to the Real Couchwives podcast where we overanalyze all things Bravo.
In honor of Summerhouse Season 8 killing it, we wanted to take a walk down memory lane and look back at some former cast members to see where they are now and how we remember them.
Yeah, and we're going to start with Hannah Berner herself, none other than one half of the Giggly Squad, which is the alternative name for this podcast.
Yeah, if Giggly Squad was not taken, that would definitely be a contender.
We would have taken it.
So you may remember Hannah Berner from seasons 3 to 5 of Summerhouse, after which she had not that great of a season, the Panini season.
Yeah.
And then she did not return, which we'll talk about in a hot second. So since leaving the show, she got engaged and married to Des Bishop, who she had just started to date during that season, right? Like we got introduced to him for like the first time. It was pretty weird.
It was pretty weird. It was just a bad season in general.
Yeah, it was a bad season in general. They kind of just like isolated themselves from the rest of the house like during the trip, and they did some kind of insulting things in someone's room.
Somebody else's bathroom.
Oops. But they are married, and they, as you mentioned, she also co-hosts the Giggly Squad with Paige, which I love. I watch religiously. My update on Hannah was actually able to be almost fully from memory just because listening to Giggly Squad.
Amazing.
She is a comedian and she's doing really well. She has an upcoming Netflix special actually, which is crazy.
So crazy.
Yeah, she's killing it. She does like Hannah on the Street. I think she was on like Whitney Cummings' podcast. Like she interviewed Hailey Bieber. Like she's out there.
Yeah, she really is. Even when we were in Vegas last year, I don't know if you remember, but we were at the Wynn for like the buffet, and they were advertising that she was going to be, I don't know if she was at the Wynn performing but she was in Vegas performing that week. And I was like, oh my God, it's so crazy. She's killing it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And it's cool to hear too, because like they'll talk about that on Giggly Squad. They actually really don't talk about Summerhouse on Giggly Squad, which is kind of interesting. Like it's honestly literally just the two of them just talk it. Like they literally, it seems like they'll take notes down that they want to bring up and then they'll just like talk about it on the show, and it's like completely random, but I love it. It's like really fun. So Iris, what do you remember from Hannah? Are there any moments that stand out, feelings?
Well, I think I always think about like Paige and Hannah kind of being like, and I realize they only came in the third season, but being like the renaissance of Summerhouse. It felt like it needed that kind of like injection of like something new into the show in general, and the two of them kind of coming in when they did, like I feel like really helped do that. And I think it also kind of correlated when with like a lot of like the audience as well as kind of like perception of the show. It kind of helped boost that out a little bit. I think it helped it grow a little bit more. So I always think about that, obviously, and just in general, like I just loved like her and Paige's relationships, and like the fact that they were always kind of like sharing the bed together and like having like girl chats and like stuff like that. That was my favorite.
Yeah, I feel the exact same. It's true, because they like the first two seasons was an entirely different cast. Obviously, Kyle and Lindsay and Carl were there, and Amanda. But then like it is true. It really became like what Summerhouse is now. I think those first two seasons to the the rest of the seasons are quite different. In the vibe as well, and like the people in the house. I also just remember her like weird relationship with Luke.
Yeah, I know, that was so bad.
It was not great.
It was not good. No, it was not
good. But yeah, overall I really loved her and Paige, and I think they were so fun their first few seasons.
Yeah, I was really upset that she kind of like went out the way that she did, just because like I feel like anybody can have a pretty bad season, and I think we talk about a lot like people having redemption arcs and stuff, and how like I would have liked that she would have gotten another season to not end on the note that she did end on. But at the same time, like I think even her and Paige kind of talk about how it was ultimately the best thing for her because it like forced her career in such a different direction.
That's true.
As long as you can kind of see the silver lining of it, I guess that's okay.
Yeah, and she's still friends with a lot of the girls. Like Sierra went to her wedding. Actually, I think almost no, I think just Sierra and Paige went to her wedding.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, she's obviously still like in the mix. I think even on like a recent after show or reunion, didn't Kyle or someone say that they could see a world that Hannah would come back?
I think so, or like at least kind of like come back into the friend group, maybe.
Maybe a guest appearance.
Yeah, a guest appearance would be appropriate, like an Everett,
An
every once in a while that just kind of
Everett.
shows up. You're like, oh, okay, cool, he's back.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of brings us to what we were just talking about, which was the original Summerhouse
Yeah,
cast, which was very different. When we have I always get their names, the
the
Workus.
Workus,
Why did I
yeah, the
think it was
Workus
more hard?
twins.
I thought it was
It
harder to just say than that.
I always think it's longer than it actually is,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, I always think
I'm
it's
like,
like the Horcruxes or
yeah, like
something.
the Workus
Like,
sisters.
yeah. Nope, just Workus. Yes, so you're right. As we know, season one is actually introduced from VPR, an episode of VPR where Stassi talks to the Workus twins in LA, and they're like, "Oh, you should come out to the Hamptons with me and my friends, and like, see what that's all about." And it just so expertly kind of like carries on from an episode of Vanderpump Rules to an episode of Summer House. We actually have it's like a little bit of like a girls trip, right? Like where Stassi, Katie, Kristen, and Sheena go to the Hamptons for like the weekend. And yeah, that's when we get, like the infamous like Stassi in the white turtleneck bathing
Steve
suit being
Jobs.
compared to Steve Jobs, and just Kyle just absolutely like killing it and like in the worst way possible,
Oh,
trying to hit
Kyle's
on
a
her and not
disaster.
not being successful at all.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah, so sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I remember when we saw that overlap. I was like,
Hmm.
it was followed by the first episode of Summer House, and I was like,
Yeah.
why
What
why are
is
you serving this
this?
to me? Like, I don't
Yeah.
care.
Why are these random dudes getting confessionals? What's going on?
But then I think after I finished VPR, I'm like, I guess I'll give this a shot. And now I'm
Hmm.
like bought in. And
Yeah. It's actually so funny because I remember the first time I watched it, it was actually during COVID, and like I watched it with my friend, and we watched the first episode of Summer House and the first episode of Southern Charm, and it was very much one of those things where we are like, okay, well, Summer House was okay, but like let's try Southern Charm and see how we feel. And then after Southern Charm, we were like, no, let's go back to Summer House. I did eventually go back to Southern Charm and was like, oh no, this is amazing. I
it's
absolutely love this,
the
and I've watched it
best.
multiple times since.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Summer House is definitely like it's fun, right? It's just silly.
And it's also like when they brought it in right after VPR, I think we were all like, well,
Mhm,
we're watching VPR, like why are you showing me
exactly.
this?
Yeah.
But I do really love that like that continues. They continue to bring in
Hmm.
VPR people
Yes.
every so often, which they haven't done in a little bit, and I think they should do again.
I know. I feel like it's been too long, and I feel like they are still like close enough in the Bravo Celebrity world where they definitely could like have Ariana and Katie, or like I guess all of them, right? Just bring them all down for one weekend in the Summer House. That'd be so crazy.
Yeah, and they all like judge each other's
Yeah.
situations. It's so good.
Yes, that would be so
Um
fun.
Anywho, where
Yeah.
what are the girls
So
up to
what are
now?
Lauren and Ashley up to? What a good question. So they are actually both like lifestyle and like beauty influencer bloggers, whatever. And they actually kind of have like also like a co version of that where it's like the Workus twins. You can follow them on Instagram. It doesn't look as active as the one that they each individually run, but it's still out there if you want it. Ashley, so just to confirm, Ashley is the one that was married. She was on the show and she was
Okay.
like already married, and she was really only there for season one, but she did make some like guest appearances in season two because like her sister was still on the show. And then Lauren was the other one. She was the one that was dating Carl and had atrocious taste in men at the time, quite frankly. And it was just so painful to watch. So Ashley is really the only thing that she's kind of up to. She's still married. She has two beautiful children. I think she's out in California with her husband. He's like a medical salesman, like he's in the medical field doing like sales. I don't know if it's specifically pharmaceuticals. I tried to figure it out, but I couldn't. And then, so in addition to beauty influencing, she's also owns a resale boutique. So like reselling and trading clothing and stuff. So it's kind of
Oh,
cool.
cool. Like
Yeah.
a like vintage
Yeah, I
store
guess like
kind of.
vintage, yeah, vintage, like lightly used and stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
clothing. It's kind of a fun concept. And then Lauren, so Lauren actually now lives in Tampa. She also has two children. She's also married, and she's actually married to a football coach. And it's actually funny because at first when I was like reading about it, I was like, oh, Arizona Cardinals, that sounds like a baseball team. and then because I was reading them specifically when like they got married, what he was doing, and then I was like, okay, let me just Google it just in case it's not a baseball team, and it's like, no, he is a football coach. And I'm like, okay, I don't think you pivot quite like that. So they've been married for 4 years, and yeah, they have 2 children. They're both like really young, like under 3 years old basically. So they've had 2 children pretty quickly. And yeah, they seem to be happy. Honestly, they seem to be killing it.
Oh, that's nice. And like, I think they're still friends with Steven from that season 2,
Yeah,
right? I think he went
it
to their
seems like it.
wedding and
Yeah, I think that they there's at least like a little bit of connection between like a lot of the cast still, even if they're not like as close as they maybe once were.
aw, that's nice. Honestly, the sisters and their families with their babies, they look like the picture that you get like when you buy a picture frame. Like
Yes.
they just like
100%, 100%. Even the babies, I was like, wait a minute, are these twins? And I was like, okay, no, they're not. But I did have to verify that.
That was fun. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and rewatch seasons 1 and 2. I haven't seen it in
Mhm.
so long to even
Oh my
kind of like
god.
remember my feelings. On the twins. Like
Yeah.
the main thing I remember is, like you said, the relationship with Carl, and also
Mm.
because they continuously flash back every time they have like a bad Carl moment to,
Yeah.
I think,
To that
Lauren being
time.
like, you treated me like crap.
Yeah, like breaking the watermelon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just it. Like they definitely made their imprint. I think that like them leaving the show definitely is what kind of like brought them also into the next generation. I can't imagine what it would have been like to see Hannah and Paige interact with like either of them or both of them, because they were such big like strong presences on the show. And I think that also kind of comes from the fact that like it felt like they, even if they didn't like actually conceptualize the show, because it kind of does kind of feel like Kyle maybe was doing that, they definitely like helped bridge the gap from like the VPR audience bringing them over to
Yeah.
Summerhouse. So maybe they felt like they had like ownership of the show a little bit.
No,
um
totally.
yeah, they made their imprint.
Gotta go back and rewatch.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And then another person on season 1 was Everett, most known for being Lindsay's boyfriend at the time and just like
Yeah.
that volatile relationship.
Oh my god, I know, our first introduction to who Lindsay could be in a relationship.
Yeah, it's true. So
Yeah,
early on.
so early on.
So Everett was a main cast member in season 1, and then he continued to appear as like a guest
Mhm.
in like continuing seasons. Sometimes he'd come to the summer house for a party. Um, Everyone is still pretty close to him, it looks
Mhm.
like. What he's been up to is he got married last year in Ireland. I
Cool,
think we all
love
saw
it.
those pictures, right? Because Lindsay
Yes.
and Carl and Amanda and Kyle went
Mhm.
for the wedding as well, which is nice that they're all so close in that
Mhm.
way. So they were like real friends. And other than that, the only thing that really exists online about him is that he lives
Mhm.
in North Carolina, and he has a nonprofit called Heal Our Heroes, which helps military
Oh,
veterans
cool.
readjust after the war.
Oh, amazing. That's so nice.
Yeah, it's a
Love
very
that.
noble cause.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's kind of the only thing that I really remember about him from the show was that he had been like a vet, or is a vet. I don't know what the proper terminology
I
is
guess
that for
he
that.
is a veteran.
Is a veteran. Um, and then yeah, like his just kind of like dynamic with Lindsay, obviously, just being like so like the fact that they were like thinking about like moving in together and getting married, and they were like so, she it feels like she's been like this close to that kind of like next step in her relationship for so many years. um
It's
and
so
it's just
true.
like it's so unfortunate that she's kind of like had these like relationships that just couldn't like stand the test of time.
Yeah. It is. And it's like, we've seen her in so many of these volatile relationships, like literally
Hmm.
starting from season 1.
Yeah.
Um, like the scene that stands out in my mind the most is
Yeah.
the from Lindsay, but towards
Yeah.
Everett, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go sleep in a
In a
bed
bed
with a boy.
with a guy.
With a guy,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. No, 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 no. Yeah, that's exactly the moment that I remember the most too of them. And like just the fact that Kyle was like so concerned about the fact that like they were gonna have a couple in the summer house
Oh
because
yeah.
he knew that this was what it was gonna be like. And
Which is
then
so
in
funny, Kyle. You continue
yeah,
to be the only couple in their summer
exactly.
house for a long.
Pass the baton quite nicely after that.
Yeah, I wish I remembered
Amazing.
more from Everett on his own. But
Yeah,
like
I
I
don't.
mainly just remember the bad dynamic of that
Yeah,
relationship.
unfortunately. But he seems like a decent guy.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you remember more about the season 1 cast? Let us know
Mm-hmm.
in the comments.
Yes. Well, and speaking of the season one cast, this brings us to our last cast member, who is, well, our last cast member on this list at least, who is no longer on the show, which is Mr. Stephen McGee. I think Stephen obviously brought a fun little spice to the show in general. He was definitely very snarky, very sarcastic, loved to kind of like, put in his 2 cents on things. And he actually, I feel like, sorry. So I'll just say he was on the first 2 seasons of the show. And I'm pretty sure in the first season, he didn't even have like a bedroom. I seem to remember him
Oh
like having to
yes.
sleep in like a closet or something.
Yeah, I do
So
remember, but I
mean.
don't know if that's because he didn't have a bedroom. I think he just like got drunk and slept in the closet in one point or something.
No,
No.
I'm pretty sure he didn't have, like, that's just it. Like that first year that like that those houses were so much smaller,
Oh
and
yeah, the
like
globe
I'm
of the
pretty
houses
sure,
was
I feel like
wild.
he even slept in like the bathtub at one point. Like I think that he just didn't have
Right.
a bed.
Right.
Yeah, it's just such a different world. Um
And I just remember his relationship with Carl.
yeah, and how south that turned,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah, but anyways, so right now he is working as a party planner, event planner, still in New York City. If you check out his Instagram, he's very much like giving Instagram model without being an official model.
Oh my god, he's had a glow up,
He has,
right?
hasn't he? Yeah, and he loves to take photos of it to prove it.
It's like it's giving. Okay, no, that's because it's not that much time that's passed. But who is that guy from Harry Potter that everyone says had the biggest glow up?
The
Neville,
Neville
yeah,
Longbottom.
yeah,
It is, and we're happy for him for that. As you
yeah.
should
And
take those selfies,
because I
enjoy it.
saw that he sometimes is in Danielle's Instagram posts,
Mm-hmm.
which is how I know that he's still friends with like
Yeah,
most
the
of them.
group. Yeah,
And I was like, is this? And she tagged Steven. I was like, this
yeah.
is Steven?
Steven.
Steven to
Steven.
quote Laguna Beach.
Yeah. I know, we love that for him. So if you go onto his website, because he does have like an official website, you can see that he kind of like coins himself as like a luxury party planner. He's worked for the Met Gala, which obviously is like the big, party that happens every May, and then the CFDA Fashion Awards as well. He says he's also done like celebrity weddings and stuff. I feel like the website doesn't have like a huge amount of content on it, so like I don't know if that's kind of like just supposed to be like a discreet thing, or if it's like maybe it's more of a once in a while thing, but who knows. But he does also do brand sponsorships, so you can find his, what is it called, like a PR package or something, on his website as well, if you want to be able to find out more about his sponsorship availabilities. So
Interesting.
doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and he's still in New York.
And he's still in New York, yeah.
And I think I could have seen him continuing to stay in the
I think
season.
he could have stayed. I think he could have stayed, or he at least could have been like a friend of. Like I feel like he's like, when I found out that he hadn't been, I felt like he had overlapped with Paige and Hannah like a little bit, but not the case. I definitely feel like he could have had like some overlap with that group too.
Do you think that turnover from all the season 1 cast was voluntary or that was Bravo?
That's a good question. I think I like somebody like Christina, who like we didn't even put on this list because we're gonna maybe do a second part. I think it was like maybe probably just like ratings and stuff of like, okay, well, this person really didn't like test well. Like we don't see any storyline, we don't see any capability for her to go beyond this. Steven, harder to say. I kind of think that like if you, like, I don't know, I feel like even if the paycheck is like really small in comparison to other reality shows, like don't you still just do it because it's like a little bit of extra money in your back pocket? But I don't know.
I do remember the twins, or remember looking up because I don't think I saw it live. They put out that they weren't coming back, and it was really kind, and it was like they really enjoyed all of the like the memories and all that.
Right.
Like it did kind of feel like a conscious choice on their end, but at the same time, like that type of turnover when it's such a rebrand is obviously calculated. Like, thinking of Roni that one season when they changed like the entire cast.
Yeah.
Which season is that I'm thinking of?
Are you thinking about season like 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is such a good season.
It is. So who's to say? But someone who definitely didn't leave on his own accord, I don't think. Or like kind of yes, kind of no, is Jordan.
Yeah.
Infamous Jordan, who came in season 3 with Paige and Hannah.
Yeah.
Like actually like as their friends. They were all working together at what's it called? Was it Betches?
Was it like, or like Man Repeller or something?
It was like one of those sites.
Those.
Yeah. So he was in 3 and 4, but left early for 4 when he was kicked out of the house and left on bad terms with the rest of the cast.
Was that when Carl was like, let's do a vote? Let's see who we're going to kick out right now. Is it Jules or is it Jordan?
And it was both.
Jordan. I feel like Jules got to stay.
She did get to stay though, but I think in the moment.
I think in the moment they wanted.
Oh, that was such a crazy.
That was crazy.
Awful thing.
That was such a moment. Oh
they
my
were
God.
so mean to Jules that season.
It was hard.
It was so mean to Jules.
It was bad.
And then Jules like hooks up with Carl, and he was like the meanest one to her.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, at a time.
It really was. Old Carl, man.
Jordan actually in doing some research here, and I have to put a huge caveat, like this research was actually harder to find than any of the other Where Are They Nows that we've done. Like there's absolutely like not specific to Jordan. I just mean like the Summerhouse one.
Yeah, I feel like
there is nothing on the internet on these people.
Little.
Like literally zero.
Much
like
more private.
We were able to find more information on the new Roni ladies like before Roni had come out. It's
because they also had like LinkedIn's, they had like all this like other stuff, and like
I guess it's also like most of them just kind of returned to be normal people. Like they're not really in the spotlight anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anywho, just wanted to caveat that in case you're like, what? Wow, they live in that place.
He lives in North Carolina. Well, now I know.
Well, now you know, so we're all better for it.
There you go.
So what I did find is that, so Jordan left 3 weeks early from the summer house that season. But he came out and did an interview shortly after, and he said there was a lot of other things going on in his life that summer, which is why he was so stressed out. And one of them is that he found out his dad had cancer and his grandmother was sick, which is so sad. And it's like, I would like if that got cut, that sucks.
Yeah, right.
Maybe he just didn't talk about it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not really like the vibe of Summerhouse too, right? Like they're like, oh, it's partying, it's fun, it's all light and frothy, and it's like all
that's true, but maybe in the earlier seasons, right? I feel like as it got into the later seasons, they do handle harder topics. Also, it says that he was apparently feuding with the network for demoting him because he was demoted in season 4,
friend of,
and bringing him only back in a friend of capacity. Right. And I guess he wasn't a fan of that either.
Interesting, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
I mean, that's what happens when you're not portraying yourself authentically. Like, I think that's the main thing that people remember from Jordan.
Yes,
is
some
basically
very fishy information.
He was basically like when you think of 40-Year-Old Virgin, the movie,
like Steve Carell,
with Steve Carell just talking about all the sexual things that he's done, and everyone's like, "Dude, that's not real.
That sounds wrong."
Yes, like that was 100% Jordan. It was like he would say these outlandish things, and people would be like, "Okay, I feel like you're overcorrecting here."
Yeah,
like
100%.
And then when he finally did get with a woman, they would be like, there were issues.
Yes. Yeah. Well, because wasn't that part of like Jules' storyline too, is that she had hooked up with him?
Yeah. And then they were all really mean to Jules because they're like, well, you hooked up with him, so now you're tainted. But like, so did Danielle.
Yeah. Danielle still got to be on the show.
Yeah. So that was an interesting thing. What he is up to now, he founded an app called Cap Genius, which is an app that like generates captions.
That's cool.
And is now compatible with Giphy.
Oh yeah, amazing.
So he's doing that.
Cool.
That's basically what there is online about him.
Cool.
But I went to
pretty impressive.
But I went to his Instagram, and his whole Instagram now is just skiing in the mountains. And he links like, and in his description he links like his Cap Genius, but he also links Telluride, yeah, Colorado skiing. And he's always posting from this place skiing, so I guess he does something there.
That's cool.
It just wasn't what I was expecting.
I feel like if you're going to be like a sponsor of something, like that's a pretty cool thing to be a sponsor of.
Yeah, totally. So, and like,
or get sponsored by.
It's super pretty, but it's just I wasn't expecting to go to his Instagram and like only see skiing videos.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
After I think like the last we saw him, he was like a model, like, you know, like I thought it would be more in that direction, which it was earlier on, but I guess he's changed it.
I bet he's jealous that he didn't get to go on Winter House.
Oh my god, seriously, he's like, I'm right here.
Look at me. Look at all my skiing content.
Other than the like cringe things that he said, anything else that stands out that you remember about Jordan or you want to mention?
I just always think about the fact that he was watching like I think I didn't know that you could watch a Sunday church service from the comfort of your bed on your laptop. And that was the only thing that I can remember about him, so that he was just always up there in his bedroom watching his Sunday church service with his little laptop. Okay.
Cool. You know what, though? I feel like there was a really interesting thing to be examined with him, and it didn't really come to fruition, which is like a guy who's like, he was struggling with who he is. Like he was very religious, but at the same time, I think he had interests and like and like an identity outside of that, and I think he was struggling to put the two together or like what the balance was. But like because of that, he just went so far into what seemed like a persona and didn't feel real that I think everyone was just like, we don't get you, what's happening.
For sure. Well, and even Steven had kind of had like that persona, like Steven was at least like outwardly and like openly gay, but like he was kind of like struggling with the fact that like his parents were like more Christian and more conservative and they weren't really open to it, and if he brought it up on the phone with them, like they'd kind of just change the subject, and so he was kind of like having that like struggle issue as well. So I think when Jordan kind of came onto the show and kind of like we as an audience maybe make assumptions about what his sexuality really is, like we kind of like see similar things happening there, but we're not getting once again kind of like the full story of that, or you know, right, we can tell that there's something else there, but we don't really know what there is.
And he has, from what I can see, he's always just continue to be like, I know who I am, and I know that people are saying that online, and that's not the truth. So maybe it's not that we were picking up on. We were just picking up on him not being true to himself. And you can't do that on a reality show, especially not like a 24/7 surveillance show.
And that's just it. It's like it's easy to, it seems like it's easy to fake it, but it's really hard when like the audience is a little bit smarter than that.
Yeah, that's fair. There's a scene that comes to mind as well for some reason, and it's when they had like a death to summer at the end, and they like all wore black, and then they even brought in like a, what's it called?
Did they bring like a coffin?
Yeah, they brought in a coffin, and I think Jordan is the one who like
is he the priest?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my god, fun.
That's what I remember.
This is making me want to go back and rewatch old seasons.
I just watched some of season 3, and it's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so fun. So that actually quite conveniently brings us to our next person who did have a season of overlap with Jordan, which is Luke Gulbranson. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. He was actually, like, I was kind of surprised. He was on it a lot more than I kind of thought that he was, because he did so little in the time that he was here. I think it's
just because he was attractive.
Maybe.
And like girls liked him.
That was his entire thing. So he was on the show from season 4 to 6 as a full-time cast member, and then season 7 as a guest.
It's so honestly, true. People have done so much more who have gotten cut.
Right? Like, I don't even remember him in season 7. I was like trying to think about that. I was like, did he just like come by for one weekend or something?
What season was 7?
Last season. Like when Lindsay and Carl were first dating. So
he was like, in season 7.
I guess he showed up one weekend or something. Yeah.
I feel like he did more in Winter House than he did in Summer House.
Yeah, I think Winter House was a little bit more his vibe, but
that's true.
Yeah. And so there you go. He also did Winter House, which was, I think he did like the first 3 seasons of that.
No, there's only been
Oh,
3
for only
seasons. So
first
the
2 seasons
2.
of that. Why do I always think that there's more than there has been? That's sad.
I know, I loved
Anyway,
Winter House this
yeah.
season.
And it was very much like him in his element, right? With like the winter and snow and the maple and the
Oh
chopping
yeah.
wood and
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
He didn't really have a lot to do in
It was
Summerhouse.
his dream. In Summerhouse, excuse me, he made jewelry while shirtless.
Yes, right, of course. And he hooked up with Hannah. That was, and we all had to deal with the
And then
consequences
he
of that.
tried to hook up with Sierra by
Sierra,
texting her
yeah,
at
yeah,
10 p.m.
yeah. Too late, too late. Don't text me at that time. Oh my god, yeah, that was so unfortunate. That was such a bad season. I hate that. I don't even that will be one season I will not be doing in my rewatch. I'll just
It
skip
was
right over
really
that
bad.
one.
It was really
Yeah,
bad.
not
Hannah will probably help
necessary.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you for not watching that season.
Yeah. So Luke describes himself as, on his Instagram bio in particular, as an actor, designer, uh, a beer owner. He doesn't officially
A
call himself that,
beer
but
owner.
he like links to. He doesn't even link to it. This is what's like drives me crazy. He has it just like written out, like all of the things that he does, but he doesn't like actually like do like the at this is my company, at this is my company, at this is my company.
Oh.
So he
He
does
just
like
talks about it?
he just says that like he's like actor this, designer for this, beer for this, and so there's like no connection, but he owns a beer company.
Oh.
He's also a hockey coach. He owns a syrup company, and he's a film
Oh my god,
producer.
these track so much until that.
So I did a little bit of investigating into his businesses. For the maple syrup, you can buy the maple syrup. It's on its own website, just like living by itself. It's
Did he,
literally
did
there's
he make
one
it
product.
himself?
There's one product, and it's just the maple syrup. It's $20 if anybody wants to buy it.
Wow.
And on the website, it has like recipes of things that you can make with maple syrup. And then it also, when you go to like purchase the maple syrup on the product page information, it says health benefits. And it talks about how it's anti-inflammatory, it helps with like gut health, I think, and then may prevent cancer.
Oh Jesus.
It's like, well, those are some really big claims.
Okay, that's too far. We could have done it.
It's a little far. It's a little
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah. So, maple syrup, guys, make sure you're getting your maple syrup a day. From there, he also has his jewelry company, which we obviously, as you mentioned, we did actually see on the show. Apparently he's like a co-designer in that. So I don't know if like what the logistics of that are, but there's that. And you can actually purchase the jewelry online. And then the beer company, so it looks like the beer can't be purchased online, but it is actually in like different like stores or like locations in like New York City and like I think in Minnesota.
Oh, that's cool. He didn't put any of this on the show except for his jewelry stuff. Maybe it didn't exist at
Right.
the time.
I mean, I think the maple syrup was like starting, and like I don't know if the beer venture is like newer, but you can shop the merch online. So if anybody wants to do that, go.
Oh my god,
Go
what is
ahead,
the merch like? Is it
have
like
at it.
plaid?
Some of it's kind of cute. It's like, but like one of them was literally just like it's like it's supposed to be a yoga mat, and it's just like a white yoga mat with the name of the company, which is Happy Dog Lager. But it's like happy period dog period lager period.
Oh.
It's very strange.
I just wanted it to be like flannel shirts.
It's not. It's definitely not flannel shirts, but you can get a bucket hat if you want. And then in his acting foray that he's kind of foray. Is that the right word?
I think so.
That he's kind of gone into as well. Obviously, if anybody saw The Flight Attendant, he was in the first episode of that.
What? I don't remember that.
Yeah, he's like the model guy that she like hooks up with on like the first episode.
Oh, you know what? I do remember. I do remember
okay,
it.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Oh yeah, that was wild to see.
I know, right? And it's a pretty big get. And then he's in a movie called Love Reconsidered. So who knows? That could be good. I'm taking a look at it right now. It looks fine. So yeah, so he's getting into the acting world as well.
Good for him. Good for you, Luke.
Oh, I guess the one other notable thing that kind of happened to him as well, like since we've last seen him, is obviously he was linked to Ashley Darby last year after BravoCon. They were like, canoodling and stuff, and like we were all pretty excited, I would say.
Yeah, and then they did actually date for a while. Like they went back and forth.
Yeah, for a little bit. But then unfortunately they did break up. But now he's been romantically linked to Tayshia Adams from The Bachelorette.
Yeah, it seems like they're still going strong too, but they're not
less information.
Flaunty.
They're very like covert. So
yeah. I just remember that like Lindsay posted a picture of like everyone at their condo and
the housewarming.
It was Tayshia and Luke, and then I think she had to like cut them out.
Yeah, she like edited it out so you couldn't see them. Like, oops.
Well, that's Luke.
That's Luke. That is Luke.
And then our last former castmate for at least this episode is Maya Allen, who also overlapped with Luke then, if she was they were both in
season 6 and 7.
Season 6 and 7. Season 6 and 7 is what Maya appeared in. I have to say, I'm not proud of this, but I literally just realized the other day that Maya is not in this season of Summerhouse.
Oh my god. Whoops. How'd that skip your radar?
Or like, I guess it's more just like, because I feel like we knew that like Sam wasn't coming back, and we felt so like, oh my god, Sam's not coming back. How is Sam not coming back? And there wasn't really mention of Maya, and then she just kind of wasn't there, and then I just kind of like, I never clocked it until I think I saw her on Instagram, and I was like, oh wait,
no, she's not on it anymore.
I know she's not.
I think we suspect that maybe it was because she wasn't being honest about the Oliver stuff last season, but I don't know if we actually like know like a real reason of why she didn't come
That's
back
true. She like season. So last season she was dating Oliver, who was Danielle's friend, I believe, and then it comes out that he was actually cheating on her, like pretty excessively with multiple women,
it seems like, at least.
But she really tried to keep it off camera, and then like even whenever he would try to talk to her, she would pretty much set it down and be like, you have a mic on. I can't imagine that people were too thrilled about that, or Bravo.
Unfortunately not a good sign. And ultimately, while I was sad to see her go, because I did enjoy her on the show, I do think that like the cast is just so good this season that like I don't want anything to tamper with that. So
yeah, it's true. So ahead of season 7, Maya actually quit her job. She was a restaurant consultant, and she'd quit that in order to dedicate her full-time efforts to her e-commerce cookie business, The Need. I think that's how you say it. So on Instagram, she has a lot of like really good, like yummy looking videos and pictures of food. She did a collab with Michael Bublé.
Oh my god, amazing.
That's cool. So it's fun. They did like a little video making drinks. And then most recently she also has a podcast with Sierra called Codependence. I think they launched it.
Is it still going on?
It seems to be, but it's kind of funny because they launched it last year, I think, and they said that it was to fill in the gaps that exist from what fans get to see on Bravo.
Oops.
Which also, not to be like rude or shady, but I'm like, Sierra and Maya both didn't let that, like, especially Sierra, like we've been saying that this is the first season we actually get to know Sierra, and we're really excited about it, and we're loving what we're seeing, but like she has really kept her close to the chest. So I don't know if it's necessarily because they're like, oh, it's an ensemble cast, you can't really follow that many people, but we do get to see quite a bit from other people, so like I don't know, like I feel like they kind of kept things closer to them.
100%. Yes, I think that's been pretty clear to us as well, is that like, especially with Sierra, like we're now on her 4th season, and we're finally actually getting to, or 4th season? Third season.
She came in during the COVID season. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, so 4th season.
Yeah.
Those are 4 seasons.
And she's been on Winter House as well.
But so she's done a lot.
Yeah. That being said, I do definitely think a podcast is a good way for you to get to know people more in that way. Like I love listening to Paige and Hannah on Giggly Squad. I haven't listened to Codependence. But I'd probably give it a try.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But she seems to be doing really well.
Good. We love that. We love that for her, at least.
Yeah. So that's our roundup for Summerhouse. There's obviously a lot more people that we can add to this list. So let us know if you want us to do a part 2 and who you want to be there. We're thinking 1 season wonders.
Yeah. That'd be so fun.
Yeah. So Jules comes to mind. In doing
Jacqueline.
This, I don't even remember Jacqueline.
That's the best part. That's the best part. They're 1 season wonders for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah.
for now, we'll continue watching Summerhouse season 8.
Yeah.
Oh, you also might notice that this is not a VPR recap.
Now that you've made it 40 minutes into this
episode. Unfortunately, our schedules just did not allow us to be able to film one. But one will be coming, don't worry. We'll just kind of group the episodes. But thank you for watching, and we hope you still enjoyed it.